The U.S. and Western allies are stepping up pressure on Russia and Vladimir Putin with more economic sanctions. The Treasury Department today announced new measures targeting Russia's central bank and investment funds. Let's bring in Max Seddon, Moscow bureau chief for the Financial Times, for more on that. Max, thanks for being here. You know, out of all of the economic sanctions from the U.S. and the West in general, which measure do you think is having the biggest impact right now?
Well, it's absolutely the sanctions against the Russian central bank, because for years, ever since the annexation of Crimea in 2014 and the first sanctions, Russia started working on what was called a Fortress Russia strategy, where they pursued this really conservative macroeconomic policy, and they built up these enormous reserves, which were something like $640 billion in foreign currency and gold. And what these sanctions do is they stop against the central bank. They stop the central bank from selling dollars or euros or pounds to buy rubles to strengthen the exchange rate. So it absolutely obliterated the ruble today. It was already at record lows. It fell by more than 30% at one point. And those long lines you just saw at banks, those are people who are standing in lines trying to get what dollars they can still afford as they see all their savings wiped out. And it's particularly devastating for poor people in Russia, because most Russians live paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have savings in foreign currency. So it's absolutely devastating. There's not really that much that Russia can do about it yet.
Well, I guess you're saying not much. I mean, what can these everyday people, poor Russian people who bank on those savings literally week to week, what recourse do they have right now?
Not very much. There's not really a lot that you can do, and that is something that we're already seeing in the messaging from the Russian government, the way that they're trying to sell these sanctions to their people. The idea in the West is that Russian people will be angry that these sanctions have imposed, and they will be mad at Putin and tell him to stop. And that's not how it works, because it's not Putin who imposed the sanctions. It's the U.S. and the European Union and the UK. And so what happens quite a lot of the time is people are angry at the West. You get this rally around the flag effect. And one of the most watched state TV propaganda hosts last night, he said something to the effect of, this isn't just sanctions against the state. It's not sanctions against officials. It's not sanctions against oligarchs. It's sanctions against you. They don't like you because you're Russian. And it absolutely fits completely, perfectly into Putin's narrative that sanctions have nothing to do with Russia's actions. They're just a measure of containment by the U.S. because they don't want Russia to be a great nation. And a lot of ordinary Russians are sympathetic to that argument.
Now, propaganda and media censorship has been a huge issue in Russia. How has that increased or changed during this conflict?
Well, you're not allowed to call it a war. You're not allowed to call it an invasion. Just a friend of mine who's a Russian journalist, he announced today that he was quitting his TV channel because the channel doesn't want to risk being shut down, and it's removing all the stories where it said that the war was a war. And he said that my conscience doesn't allow me to do that, but I can't let my I don't want to let down my friends by saying things on air that would get them shut down. The issue I think in Russia is that this level of censorship, where they're pretending to their population that the vast majority of what's happening in this war, things like the horrific cluster munitions attack on Kharkiv this morning or the siege of Kiev, that they're not happening. They say that it's just a special operation in the Donbass, in one area of Ukraine, to liberate the Russian speakers. And on state TV, they even show this footage of downtown Kiev, which looks completely peaceful, whereas in reality, everyone I know there has been spending their nights in basements, bomb shelters, and the metro to hide from the assaults. And the issue is that in the age of the internet and 4G, 5G, social media, no one has ever tried to hide a conflict to that extent. At that scale. And for Russian people, this isn't Syria, which is somewhere far off and distant to them. This is Ukraine, where millions of Russian people, they have relatives, they have friends, and it would require really an enormous effort that I think would be unprecedented anywhere outside of China to censor the internet to the point where at least some information wouldn't get through. And the Russian government has started to realize that, but whether they're going to be able to stop that information from reaching ordinary Russian people, I think they could at least make a good shot of it, because 80% of Russian people, their primary source of the news is TV, and TV, there is no war. There's only the special operation in the Donbass.
All right, Moscow bureau chief for the Financial Times, Max Seddon. We appreciate it, Max. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.